We are crossing to Greenland versus America. Trump. Actually, I have seen some commentators on social media saying America was blaming Putin yesterday for attempting to invade Ukraine. Yeah? But also remember, Ukraine was initially under SSR, under Russia.
Absolutely.
That was one country. They seceded. Now Russia is trying to say, please, you are our brothers, we need to come together again.
America encouraged the disintegration of USSR.
Yes. So now, the point I'm raising is this one. Somebody said, America, you are condemning Putin, Russia, for trying to reclaim what belonged to them initially. But on the other side, you are claiming Greenland. You are one and the same. You have no more authority to complain about Putin. What's your view, comrade? Greenland and America, Trump.
For the very first time, I am glad, unless somebody does not have ears or eyes to see, I am glad that the United States of America has gotten a president who has exposed the United States of America and White House to the rest of the world and showed us the true colors of what takes place in the White House, that actually the so-called democracy in the United States of America is nothing but a mockery.
Free your mind now. Be part of the People's Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
The Pan-African Pyramid Weekly Roundtable with your speaker, Emperor Andrew Irumba. This is Thursday morning. Yeah, it's supposed to be recorded on Monday morning.
Is it the 29th?
Yeah, 29th of January 2026. A few days or a few weeks from the Uganda's electoral process. Comrade Daniel Rugarama Karuchigo is our usual comrade here and our usual panelist. Glad to meet you, comrade.
Glad to meet you, brother.
How are you?
And a very good morning to our esteemed viewers. We don't take you for granted. We are always pleased that you spare time to interact with us.
Share, like, and comment on our shows on YouTube channel, but also be ready to watch this show on NBS Television, our media partner. The Pan-African Pyramid media partner is NBS Television. Watch this show every Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. in case you miss it on YouTube channel. Comrade Daniel Rugarama, we have a lot of issues to discuss today. One with South Sudan. We'll also discuss the Greenland issue. And finally, if time allows, we shall discuss Iran and Trump. But before we go there, Daniel, you have been part and parcel with the last week but one presidential elections. From a Pan-African perspective, I want to hear your view. What do you think about Africa's elections? Because before you come, if you asked me, particularly for Uganda, I don't believe that this Uganda deserves to undergo presidential elections. Me, I would rather that we do like UK, United Kingdom. The Queen of England has been the president of UK till she died. And when she died, she left her son, King Charles. Then below her, they go for elections. Then she appoints the president. And then the cabinet, the members of parliament, those elections can go on. But the presidency, that one they left it for the monarch. Another example is the UAE here, the United Arab Emirates. They don't elect. When you go there, you just marvel, you admire the development. Comrade Rugarama, Uganda has spent over 71 trillion in election, presidential election. But I can tell you, if you had asked me, when you get this money,
Value for money.
value for money, you compare. You also add on the human suffering. Over 1,000 youth, 1,000, and that is what police is saying. Over 1,000 youth up to today are in prison. Not because they committed any crime, no, they supported whom you didn't want. They supported what the system didn't want. That's the reason you're in jail. There are others who have been in jail since 2021 election cycle. It means now they spent 5 years.
We even have those who went to jail from the riots, they called Kasubitu riots.
Yes.
Or
Kayunga,
riots.
yes.
Yeah.
So, that human capital, the young people, 1,000 in your jail. I want you to do, because Rugarama, when you are here, I have arrested you. I have not just arrested you, Rugarama. I have arrested your wife. I have arrested your father. I have arrested your mother. I have arrested your children. I have arrested your relatives. Why? You have been the breadwinner. So you don't just look at Rugarama being incarcerated. You look at what is the trickle-down effect. How many people are dependent on Rugarama? Now you cannot say we are developing the country when actually some people are there and you and I, through our taxes, are looking after them. But they have there is no reason, legitimate reason, why I should work for them and they eat free food. There is nothing. So, countries like now, those others have told you, they foresaw. They said, no, let's leave this, let's go for the other. Let's go for the lower. Actually, when you look at the tension you put in a country every 5 years, and remember Uganda does not actually go into politics a year to the act of voting. No. Right now, they have finished the elections. We are already into politics now. You're going to see it manifest through the cabinet appointments, through service delivery. You're going to see it. You get it? So in other words, 365 days we are in politics. So, Rugarama, and we are doing it to entice the Western world, that they have told us to elect our leaders. But you don't believe in that system. Why don't you create your own system that you believe in? For instance, Africa believed in monarchism, kingdoms. That's where the leadership was. And they believed in their kings, they loved their kings. They are not up to now. Kabaka of Uganda is not the president, but they love him more in Uganda. If he was the president for the Uganda, it means everybody in Uganda, including me, he would be my president. And you have no choice but to love him. You get it? So, why are we into this frenzy of saying we just do for the sake of doing it? What was it meant to cure? What was elective politics meant to cure? Has it cured it, Mr. Rugarama? It was meant to give people power to elect those that they have trust in, they love, they want. This is not happening. It's not happening. No.
Anyway.
Let me hear from you.
Ndugu Irumba, I must tell you that when you interact with our old colleagues, like Homer Joshua Mavonga Marara III, he comes up with what one would call in some circles, outrageous comments. He says Africa does not need electoral democracy. But actually we are better off with benevolent military, not just dictators, military dictators. So he's very happy with, for instance, what is happening in the Sahel region. He says what we need is to get military dictators who decide on things correctly for the benefit of the people and they do away with pretense.
Yes.
That's
So what we are doing in Uganda is pretense. Very good.
And
You have used a good word.
and therefore, where did the electoral democracy begin from? We must go back in history and appreciate the fact that this part of democracy called electoral democracy was bestowed upon the colonial colonies, where Uganda was part by their colonial masters. At departure, the colonial masters left certain things in place. The education system, which we still have, regardless of how many times we have attempted to correct the curriculum, the democratic system that we have, forget the fact that your very own written is not necessarily a presidential kind of political democracy. And the same applies to where the French were. And therefore, the fact that this is not our democracy, therefore, Mr. Speaker, the truth of the matter is that the electoral democracy we have in majority of the jurisdictions that were occupied by colonialists, majority, because there are some which have since, because now if you go to Korea, North Korea, for instance, was occupied by Japan, but they have their own democracy now. And it doesn't matter what you call it, but they have it. That's what they, and with that, they are a nuclear power, so you cannot underrate them. But largely, apart from the forces now that are coming up in the Sahel region, which are basically reclaiming the African heritage and having and wanting to have the African way of leading their people. The rest of us that were colonized by the Portuguese, by the Spaniards, by the English, by the French, we are largely on borrowed democracy. And therefore, the Ugandan just concluded electoral process was nothing but a replica of what the imperialist has structured our democracy to fit into the white man's narrative. And as such, therefore, we do not think that we are going to benefit a lot by continuing with this kind of democracy. And I say so because your question was from the Pan-African perspective. That's why I am answering you the way I'm answering you. But if I was with the background of a non-government organization, probably sponsored by somebody from one of the Western capitals, hegemonic imperialistic West, conceptual West as we know it, then I would be answering differently. I would be telling you about the raw turn up of the voters, the uncleaned register. I would be telling you about the militarization of the elections in some parts of Africa. I would be telling you about the low or small budgets which are not fulfilled. I would be talking about the challenges in civic and voter education. All that is in my opinion, as somebody with the Pan-African background, is just the usual NGO-like debate that does not fit into a situation. If we must get out of this problem, that has been with us for the last, averagely on the African continent, 60, 65 years. Because that is how, generally speaking, Africa is as far as the so-called regaining of our independence is concerned.
Okay. Well, that's the opinion, comrade.
Absolutely.
Now, let's move to the rest of Africa. South Sudan. Comrade Lugarama, Sudan and South Sudan was once one. The white man came and told them, the reason why you people are fighting is because down in the south, they are Catholics. Up are what? Muslims. These two religions cannot live together, separate. We will even help you to facilitate the separation. We will pay for hotels, for foods, for those people coming to do the separation and all that. We will even help you to fund you to stabilize your governments. That's the white man. The South Sudanese and the other Sudanese from the Khartoum, they thought these guys loved us so much. You see, they are telling us they are going to facilitate a long-lasting solution for us to have peace. They're even going to give us money. So they did it. After doing it, they came back to South Sudan and started facilitating Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. After dividing them into two, they thought that they would now help them to develop peace. No. They started arming both the opposition, the rebel, and the government in power. Why? So that you continue fighting. So that they continue looking for your eyes as the ultimate solution bearers. You continue looking at them. So that they continue plundering your resources. This is what is happening in South Sudan. Look at Sudan, the Darfur. There's no peace. So right now as we speak, everything is as if has never been discussed at all. It's as if they are beginning afresh. War, killing of people, mass killing, and the world is looking on. You know, the entire world has picked a lot of cough about what is happening in Minnesota and Minneapolis in the US.
The ICE security forces.
You find that all three people have died. But the way the international media picks the matter,
it is not your media, it is their media. And they control the narrative. You create yours if you are unhappy. See, this is the point, Comrade Irumba and our esteemed viewers. This that you have just been talking about is very annoying to the extent that sometimes you feel like not talking about it at all. But that doesn't help. The truth of the matter, the entire Sudan, as we are talking about it now, when you go through the works of our senior comrade, Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop, he will even tell you that what we call Sudan itself, by the way, simply means the dark skin kind of dark complexion. And he will tell you that right from Egypt up to the lower parts of the Nile, even including the South Sudan, it was all referred to as Sudan. It is another type of history which we shall refrain ourselves from going into if we must look at how therefore did Egypt now become so light-skinned with almost no dark-skinned person. How did that happen? But that is not the purpose for which you have put this subject. The Sudan, after undergoing several disagreements, creation of Egypt, creation later on of Sudan, then we finally have the South Sudan. When the late, may his soul rest in eternal peace, Comrade John Garang Di Mabio came to Uganda here at Hotel Kotorio and presented a paper. They left no doubt we were very young, we left no doubt in our minds that he was not for the division of Sudan. He actually challenged those who were in the hall that put in place a free and fair election, let him participate as a candidate. He
For
will
the entire
win.
Sudan.
Yes, for the entire Sudan. He will win the elections flat. And I agree with him. Why do I agree with him? I do not buy into this notion that there is any fundamental difference, if there is any difference at all, anyway, between the so-called Catholic and Muslim. All these guys are just Africans. But for very selfish reasons, and because of lack of ideological clarity, you have a situation where your brother has converted into Catholic or Anglicanism. The other one is Muslim, and you think because you profess different ways of how to approach God, and God is one, therefore you are different. This was greatly used at colonial time when our continent was pursued and petitioned and handed over to different players, and during administration of the colonial master in the different territories on the African continent. Unfortunately, the same trend has continued under imperialism, although we may not easily see it, but it plays out a great deal. To the extent that at one time, in one of the stories that the late Dr. John Garang used to tell us, he said that he was proposed to, Bashir proposed to him, but why don't you become Arab? And he said, how? What do you mean? He said, you see, it's not hard. You just convert. Then you have a few things in terms of wealth and the way of life. So in other words, being Arab had nothing to do with religion, had nothing to do with color, it had everything to do with the lifestyle. It became a lifestyle. And so much, by the way, happens. You have had in our daily conversation. Somebody talks and he says, you know me, I'm a Catholic. I tell the truth. So who lies?
They're not Catholics.
Who lies? So what are you saying, in other words? Hey, you know me, I will tell you as a Muchiga. So which tribe does not tell openly? Hey. I'm talking as an Acholi.
So what are you saying?
I am not saying that we should not be proud of who we are and how we do it. But if you use it to as an advantage, to give you an advantage over other people who may not necessarily share your clan. I call these clans really. It's only the whites who say they don't have clans. For them, they are only whites. In America, for instance, Trump thinks he is one and the same as Madonna. But Madonna hails from Italy. Trump hails from Germany. Bush, they hail from UK. So there is no way, but all of them will refer to themselves as Americans. So in other words, it brings us to our problem now. Why are we having what we are having in South Sudan, which is also playing out in Sudan, Khartoum? Why? We have what we are having, not that it is a new phenomenon. No. It started some time back, because Africa, like our senior comrade Bioro Lumumba says, had and still has, if we were not interfered with deliberately by enemy forces, the best ways of adapting to living together. We have proven over time that we can live in a diversity comfortably. The whites don't. With all due respect. If, for instance, you remember that there are countries in Eastern Europe that have had to divide themselves and create different countries. See, is it Yugoslavia? Yugoslavia became what? They are Slavs, they are these. Go to Europe, even the Western Europe, by the way. French. They are French, right? Who are there? Who are not French? The only people they managed to take were, for instance, from Algeria, Morocco, these African countries, which under their assimilation policy, they took them there. But the French are largely French. The Germans are largely Germans. The English. So it is only in Africa, even in our individual countries, which were created in 1884, 1885 Berlin Conference, that Uganda, you have got tribes, 54, but which cut across, that these tribes are shared. South Sudan will have the same tribes as those ones in Arua in Uganda. DRC, same in Koboko. In Kenya, the Samia, same in Uganda. Simply because we were arbitrarily.
Kasese same as in Congo.
Actually, the majority of the Wakonjo are in DRC, although their king is in Uganda. To have a situation as we have it in South Sudan is because of even dividing the country itself. Let's start from there. I have told you that their great leader, Dr. John Garang, didn't believe in dividing up the country. And he offered to lead that country as it was without necessarily dividing it. But because the Americans thought that by dividing up this country, they were going to see majority of the oil wells are in South Sudan. So they thought that they were going to have their hands exclusively on the oil wells of South Sudan after dividing the country. They were already disappointed, and you remember, after that country had gained independence, the youngest country on the African continent, after it had gotten the so-called independence, the bodies, the UN bodies and America itself, they were giving them a lot of money. You remember the money that South Sudanese used to have here, where they were buying buildings in Naria and everywhere. All of that was NGO and country-related money from America and her agencies. Now, when the oil wells started drying, and the donors, the Americans, also started tightening the taps, simply because the contracts, because China came in, the contracts, expansion of the airport, Juba Airport, construction of the roads, running of the oil wells, then the Americans realized that this was not going to help. And they encouraged the Mai, the Janjaweed, and also they created a situation whereby Khartoum regime, the Americans like calling the governments which they don't like regime. Like I say now that since they like those words, so the regime now in Washington of Trump, I think it's a regime. The regime is an English word. So the regime in Washington at that time now encouraged that the impasse on the wells, some wells, which really when you look at it, are in South Sudan, according to how the boundaries were being drawn, the Khartoum regime refused it. And as we talk now, there is almost no any oil being drilled out of be it South Sudan or even the part of Khartoum. The situation is that These two major tribes in South Sudan, they all think, be it that one of Racha Machar,
Machar.
Machar, be it that one of Salva Kiir. What are these tribes? There is
the Dinka and the Nuer.
Dinka and the Nuer. The Nuer. They think, unfortunately, I think maybe majority of them, they are leaders really. And this is what Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, in his paper that he presented in 2010 in Durban, if I'm not mistaken, when he was identifying the bottlenecks that have halted the development of Africa, there were 11 bottlenecks. And one of them was ideological bankruptcy. And he says, because our leaders do not have proper ideology, to know what will drive our continent forward and what will hold it backwards, to know who the enemy is and who the enemy is not. The leaders, with all due respect, I believe there is some element of respect I should bestow upon some people, really, in South Sudan, have failed to know that the Nuers are not the enemies of the Dinkas, and the Dinkas are not the enemies of the Nuers, because those are not the only tribes who are in South Sudan. There are other many tribes. There are rulers in South Sudan. There are these other tribes, what are they called? They are all there. Because in all the states that you can talk about, because now the war, if I may call it that, you will find that it's a unity state, you know, it is all there, is that you find these people under the spell that the problem why, for instance, the Nuers are not getting into government, and you wonder what government is in that case, is because there is a great presence of the generals and the army men in the army of South Sudan, who are actually the Dinkas. And because of that, since they regained independence and they had a program that within this framework, we are going to have elections. They are behaving like Joseph Kabila, who said he cannot have elections because the DRC didn't have money to carry out elections. I can assure you that the framework that was drawn and agreed upon when South Sudan was regaining independence from Khartoum government has not been implemented even an inch. Because the president at that time is still the president, and we have not had, you can imagine, a transitional government for how many years now. So this that we are having in South Sudan, the death that we are having is as a consequence of the following: ideological bankruptcy, failure to realize and point out problems of Africa, lack of a critical mass that thinks. You know, thinking is not supposed to be part-time. Thinkers are almost not there. The ones who are there, we have been released into WhatsApp and social media debates, and even the debates we are talking about is how one dresses, whether the leader has of tribe X, it doesn't see eye to eye with whose girlfriend dresses well. It's terrible. It's a disaster. On the African continent, we need to do what we call a rethink. A very serious rethink. We need rebirth of knowledge. We need a renaissance. And it starts from what we are doing right now. I want to tell you, Comrade Irumba, that what we are doing is part of the effort to give birth to a new generation of thinkers.
Renaissance.
The Comrades.
I've been engaging a lot of South Sudanese. I'm Sudanese. I contributed to the new solutions for Sudan when Bashir was a problem. I don't know whether you remember.
That is very important
Hey.
because I have been part and parcel, and I have other colleagues of ours to finding a solution to some of the problems in South Sudan. Somebody will watching there will say, but we have not even tackled those ones of Uganda. Let me tell you, there is no Uganda, there is no South Sudan. We are all in the same house called Africa. What affects South Sudanese affects Ugandans. What affects, there is no Arab, they say there is no Gentile, the Bible is instructive. There is no Gentile, there is no Jew. The Jews you hear who are murdering their fellow Palestinians are actually not Jews. Maybe I think they are something else. Maybe I don't know, but at the end of the day, somebody who thinks you are better than another, just on account of color or physical appearance of whatever nature, size, color, complexion, height, is nothing. In the words of the late Mwalimu Kambarega Julius Nyerere, you are nothing but an idiot. So the problem is that we have got a number of idiots who are increasingly gaining popularity and gaining political offices, pretending over our political, socio-economic lives, and that has been a problem. And unless we carry out a revolution which emphasizes the element of we are because you are, and you are because we are going to have a problem. Capitalism is tearing us apart. It is sponsored by the aggressive, greedy, and we know them now. I'm glad that increasingly the enemy is seen. The problem of South Sudan is from nowhere else. It is even not from, by the way, from within. It is the gospel that is being preached to them. It is a wrong gospel. The preachers don't have a message. The delivery methods are wrong for those who have the message. And therefore, because the South Sudanese have been fed over and over again on a wrong message, including the very first time they divided up their country called Sudan. And from that time, they have perpetually been subjected to the wrong gospel. They themselves do not surround themselves with people who can shape them as brothers and sisters. And the same thing has been happening in the DRC right from the days of Leopold the second. Is the reason as to why we see no serious economic activity. A fertile country like South Sudan imports food from Uganda, a country rich in forest cover, is very busy giving out their forests to the Chinese to cut. A country rich in minerals does not have piped water in the capital city, Juba. The education system is down. People put on rosaries, and I have no problem with people who put on rosaries. That's their business. That's the way they wish. But if you put on a rosary for purposes of distinguishing yourself from those who do not put it on and emphasizing that one as an advantage over others, it is wrong.
Comrade Daniel Garama Kaukibo, chairman of the Pan-African Pyramid Uganda chapter. Let's leave South Sudan. We are crossing to Greenland versus America. Trump. Actually, I have seen some commentators on social media saying America was blaming Putin yesterday for attempting to invade Ukraine. Yeah? But also remember, Ukraine was initially under SSR, under Russia.
Absolutely.
That was one country. They seceded. Now Russia is trying to say, please, you are our brothers, we need to come together again.
America encouraged the disintegration of USSR.
Yes. So now, the point I'm raising is this one. Somebody say, America, you are condemning Putin, Russia, for trying to reclaim what belonged to them initially. But on the other side, you are claiming Greenland. You are one and the same. You have no more authority to complain about Putin. What's your view, comrade? Greenland and America Trump.
For the very first time, I am glad, unless somebody does not have ears or eyes to see, I am glad that the United States of America has gotten a president who has exposed the United States of America and White House to the rest of the world and showed us the true colors of what takes place in the White House, that actually the so-called democracy in the United States of America is nothing but a mockery. I'm glad
Trump has removed that veil, that curtain of pretense.
Absolutely.
He has opened and said, this is who we are. And so you should take us for who we are, not what we tell you or not what we pretend to be.
I predict one thing.
And that's good enough, by the way. That's
Yes,
one positive.
Absolutely.
Daniel.
I don't see, for instance, Trump winning in the midterm elections. No, I don't see him winning. Why? America is very good at pretending. And Trump was lucky last time that even when the odds were against him, he was undergoing multiple trials on different frauds, criminal in nature, majority of them. But even then, he managed to win what, in his words, he calls the first term. He does not consider the other one. And that is why he is saying that he is actually likely to come for the second term. My reading of the political temperature in America with the internal happenings, even the external happenings, I will come to them. I don't see Trump winning, and he will not win, not necessarily that he is doing something different from what the rest of the American presidents have been doing. No, essentially, he's doing what all the presidents, including Bush went and picked Noriega from Colombia. You see, what has Trump done? He has picked our brother, Maduro. You see?
Venezuela.
And what were the reasons? The same
reason.
Fake reasons, non-existent, fabricated, arrogance, typical of the American presidents, is the same reason as to why Trump went to Caracas
Venezuela
and picked Comrade Maduro. Therefore, unlike the previous presidents who could hide, at least they attempted to hide. And they would manage to hide their evil acts, their unfortunate way of transgressing international law, disrespecting the United Nations Charter, doing things they knew very well that were against morality, because the majority of those people actually are not morally upright, and that I say not in bad faith. I'm simply stating somebody who is honest intellectually would say, because in all fairness, they demand that we must take Greenland. And I'm glad it has happened this way, because in commissioning of a crime, there are always people who come along, they say in cahoots. So America has been perpetuating international crime for a very long time, including they are moving into Libya, killing their leader, now very busy systematically stealing the natural resources, freezing the gold deposits of Libya that was in foreign countries and legally banked there. The money, even deceiving that the perpetuators of the Rockaby were actually Libyans, and Libya had to pay colossal sums of money. All this, the Europe was accessories to the crime. They knew that America, United States of America, would be wrong in majority of what it would be doing, including most recently, America flagrantly going into the Caribbean waters, staging there for some time in order for them to prepare themselves to go and commit a crime by picking a whole constitutional president of Venezuela and trying him that he has committed narcotic international crimes, which is bogus, a lie, and all the Western capitals, if they were talking against it, they were talking against it mutedly. If they were, because they were vague, extremely vague, including Britain, because I saw Starmer, the Prime Minister, stammering to say something about the illegal capture of Maduro. America is not the first time it has gone into Cuba, just from Miami to Havana is about 90 miles. They have occupied the territory called Guantanamo Bay, claiming that they purchased it for that matter. It was being pitched upon them by the Spanish, which definitely doesn't make sense. And they have been there. That's where they incarcerate the so-called bad guys. And I have argued here before that if anybody is to incarcerate any other person, then the American top leadership should incarcerate themselves because they are the bad guys. We know that for sure. Self-appointed prefects of the world who do not actually carry out their prefectorial duties, but they carry out their gangster style duties. Now, for them to have, for Trump to have demanded that he must acquire the Greenland in Arctic Ocean, the Arctic zone, is very good. Why is it very good? That we have got our own proverb here, Ngwayo rempiri masinde ni hukutera. Iwija one time, Ngwayo rempiri masinde, there is a snake, a cobra snake. If you are plowing
clearing your garden
and
you carry it along,
you leave it there, you say, no, this one be there. When you come back, it will not remember that actually you preserved it, and it will also hit you. Western capitals, Western Europe has been in bed with the United States of America under their highly priced gangster organization called NATO for a very long time. They have terrorized
the Atlanta Treaty
Organization. They have been terrorizing the whole world, including even going against their unwritten agreement with Russia for them not to extend, is it eastwards? But they have done that to the extent that they were in Ukraine after removing the person they presumed to be a Russia supporter president, and they encouraged the coming in of a comedian called Zelensky as a president. That was done by the CIA. Yes, in Ukraine. In Ukraine, absolutely. It was done by USA diplomatic mission in Ukraine and also the CIA. Now, so much United States of America had created itself, and still maybe is, had created into the controller of the Western Hemisphere. all that area that you call Latin America, they are the cause of the troubles we have in Haiti. That's including even some of those tsunamis you are sweeping the cities and what have you. They are encouraging rape activities. They overthrow governments. They put there the ones which are friendly to them, to the extent that arrogantly Trump said that Canada was another state of United States of America. And you see what Canada is now doing. It is creating, you can imagine such a big economy like Canada. Now, it is creating, opening frontiers away from her own sphere, her own neighbors, immediate neighbors, going to China, coming to Turkey, coming to Russia, and they are comfortable making fresh alliances. For Trump to have claimed that he wants Greenland without any basis, and when Denmark was talking, he said, under what auspices do you demand, you as Denmark, do you hold on to Greenland? But we know for a very long time, donkey years, Greenland is part and parcel of the Kingdom of Denmark. It is under the political leadership, although they are like semi-autonomous, and we know that has been the case. Now, the accessories to the many crimes that the United States of America has committed, called Western Europe, has been in bed with America for such a long time. It never dawned on them, and especially by their treaty of NATO, that America, which has been providing that protection to majority of the Western, because even Germany destroyed their nuclear power because of that NATO treaty. They said we can remain with America, we know nobody is going to touch us. But they were wrong. Now they have been forced to start reactivating and increasing their budget on defense. So that Trump, because you don't know how many Trumps America is going to produce, probably the one coming next, probably, I don't know, if the Democrats can also produce their own version of Trump, can even be worse and say, no, from Greenland, I actually did want Denmark itself. That's very possible. Now, what does that tell you? That helps me to say, look, I am able to see in the bedroom of the hegemonic empire, and in the bedroom of the hegemonic empire called America and NATO, it is not rosy. Things are actually falling apart. NATO, if by whatever witchcraft is not saved, it is going to crumble. New alliances are going to emerge. In all this, like our senior brother, Professor Sachs Geoffrey says, in all this, the happiest people are China and Russia. They are looking at a free paid film. This film is very interesting because the devil that has been patrolling the whole world has got itself in trouble by disagreeing on how their evil activities must continue to be meted out to those victims that have been suffering. Greenland, ultimately, may not, in a manner of speaking, go to United States of America as Trump had wanted it. But I can assure you, because look, Greenland already has got the presence of Russian companies operating there. They are doing mining. China has got so many mining companies, and they also have military presence in the Arctic region, including Greenland. It is very, and you know, of course, living in Greenland, probably we need to go to Greenland and see what is there. You see, these people put a lot of hype around themselves, but they are nothing. I am telling you, Greenland is not a country that you would wish to go and live. It's terribly cold. The living conditions there, hell. That is why for us without knowing, they are systematically ensuring that Africans reduce in numbers. Although God loves us and we are not dying, even when the odds have been against us, under the indirect persecution of the black community here on our continent and away, our numbers, our fertility rates are high, and we are continuing to increase in the numbers.
Okay.
But I want to conclude.
Because conclude you must.
Yes, I want to conclude by telling you that I am glad that what Trump is doing is, for the very first time, even to the average thinkers, revealing who the occupiers of the Oval Office, the members of NATO actually are in real sense. It is identifying them as the real enemies of the world against the progressive, God-fearing people like us. It is time for whoever doubted to realize that we need to galvanize our efforts, know that we are on our own, and that the Trump-like people have never liked us, apart from pretending to like us for purposes of stealing from us, not us who are here now, but also future generations. It is time we woke up and smell the water.
Thank you very much, Comrade Daniel Garama. The last point will be Iran and the crazy Trump. What's your comment? You know what's happening between Iran and America, Trump?
The very first time, not the very first time, but in the recent past, the combination of United States of America and the Zionist state of Israel attempted to overthrow the leadership in Tehran and also to do away with the defense capabilities of Iran. Needless to tell the audience that they miserably failed, and even their front runners, the CNN, Fox News, Sky News, BBC, failed to capture and report accurately, like they usually don't report accurately anyway, the amount of response that Iran gave to the Zionist state of Israel. They could only show you what the Zionist state was doing in Tehran. This time around, in order to first in order for America and Israel to save face, Trump claimed that he had correctly identified the nuclear arsenal of Iran and destroyed it in simply about 10 or 5 strikes they carried out, and then they moved away. That was just saving face. I don't think that Iran is that stupid to not hide their nuclear capabilities in a place or even protect their nuclear capabilities. This time around, whatever witchcraft and demon has repossessed the indicted Netanyahu with his big brother Trump, to come back to a territory called Iran, created civil strife like they did in Libya not long ago, and which resulted into the death of Gaddafi, thinking, and after failing, because they wanted to remove the leadership of Iran through that civil uprising where the economy is doing badly, the dissatisfaction of the population, so that the leadership can go, they failed, claiming that there were so many deaths and then that the leadership is incapable of protecting her own people, and now they want to carry out strikes, and they are making every preparation to carry out the strikes. I can assure you, the God of the world, who is not the God of America and Israel, like Netanyahu has always claimed that God is on their side. And I don't buy into this nonsense that the God of Israel means the Zionist state of Israel, and therefore that God is right, and as Christians we must also support them. I can assure you that this attempt, if they do not heed the advice of China and Russia and other members, including Uganda and the UN members, and stop the planned madness of attacking Iran, they do not know for sure what Iran is capable of doing. God forbid, would hate to see a situation where the Middle East region is completely destabilized, and maybe even one country is completely, or one human race is completely wiped out of this planet. It's possible. We don't know the military capability of, who knows, for instance, if Iran does not have nukes, and that you disturb them, you go back to something that you had abandoned, and they say enough is enough, and they carry out what El Comandante Fidel Castro called nuclear winter, such that not only in the Middle East, because a nuke, for instance now, China, and I want to believe even other countries, and who knows, maybe Iran, they possess what we call a hydrogen bomb. They showed it during their military parade. One hydrogen bomb is capable of killing everything with life, including that plant you see there. 3 times. That the hydrogen bomb can kill the entire living thing on planet Earth. Once, twice, thrice. And not in years. Because a normal nuclear warhead, if released, we can take, and we are far away from it, we can take roughly 2 years, all of us to die, everything to die completely. But hydrogen bomb will kill you in the entire world in less than 20 minutes. Is that where we want to go? You think if Trump continues leading the American forces on the international front in the manner in which he is leading, including writing what I have never seen in my life, writing to another head of state that, considering that your country didn't even give me a Nobel Peace Prize, this is the head of the mighty United States, quote unquote, mighty United States of America, writing such a letter on the official headed paper of White House, that considering that you didn't even give me the most coveted Nobel Peace Prize, I have got no business giving you any manner of respect. And you expect that such a person, there is what we call a nuclear briefcase by United States of America. You expect that such a person, at any one given time, is not likely to press the button, the nuclear button of United States of America, or threatens other countries with nuclear capability as good as theirs, and then they respond in such an unproportional manner to wipe us all off. We not only need to pray, we need to do something extra
about America.
Stop the madness of America.
And on that note, we have come to the end of today's PAP Weekly Roundup. My name is Andrew Irumba Katusave, your speaker. And my guest has been our usual comrade Daniel Rugarama Karukiko, a senior international civil rights lawyer, but also chairman of the Pan-African Movement Uganda chapter. We are in Kampala, Uganda, and I want to encourage you to share, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Pan-African Pyramid. And if you can also go an extra mile, and subscribe to our other mother media house called The Spy Television. If you miss this show on YouTube channel, you can find it on NBS Television, our media partner, on Saturday from 4 to 5. And we say together, Africa, don't agonize.
Organize.
Africa, don't agonize.
Organize.
Free your mind now. Be part of the People's Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.